Well, it's that time of year again when record companies start releasing their summer albums. You know, albums that have an upbeat, feel good, and radio friendly, or I guess playlist friendly sound that captures the summer vibe. I've got one today that you're likely to be hearing a lot of over the next several months. Hi everyone, I'm Paul Crayson, and you're watching Music Mentions. Today I'm doing a deep dive review of the Black Keys' newest retro-sounding platter called Ohio Players. You're going to get more from me than your typical reviewer's high-level 5-minute hot take. If you've watched my previous album reviews, you know that I'm going to cover a little bit about the band, some album release notes, the track listing and song lengths. I'm going to go over the album's title and the cover, discuss some general album observations, then dig into those individual songs, and then I'm going to wrap things up with a summary and an overall album rating. So who are the Black Keys? This is an American band that is comprised of two childhood friends hailing from Akron, Ohio. It was formed in 2001 and was one of the central players in that whole garage rock revival in the early 2000s that included such bands as the White Stripes and the Strokes. They released 3 great and grimy, raw blues-influenced albums on independent labels and then signed to the major label Nonsuch that they've been on ever since. Over the years, they've climbed the rock band popularity ladder to become one of the most recognizable and prominent arena-level rock bands in the world. They've used many touring musicians over the years to help flesh out their sound in a live setting. They've released 12 full studio albums, one of which, Delta Cream, was a cover of hill country blues songs. They really blew up in the mainstream consciousness with 2 classic back-to-back albums, Brothers in El Camino in 2010 and 2011, respectively. Many of their songs have been licensed over the years, and you no doubt have heard their stuff in myriad commercials. Their music has been variously categorized as garage rock, indie rock, blues rock, or just rock. So Dan Auerbach, he's 44 years old. He's the band's vocalist and guitarist. On this album, he also plays some bass, some keyboards, and has programmed some of the drum machine sounds. He's also known as a producer, having co-produced the band's albums, as well as stuff for Ray LaMontagne, Cage the Elephant, Dr. John, and one of my favorites, Lana Del Rey. Additionally, he's the owner of Easy Eye Sound recording studio and label in Nashville, where he currently lives. The other Black Key is Patrick Carney. He is also 44 years old. Dan's childhood friend is the band's drummer and also is a co-producer of their music. On Ohio Players, he also plays some guitar and as well as some keys. He also lives in Nashville and owns Audio Eagle recording studio there. Like Dan, he's produced records for various artists including Denver-based Tennis, The Sheepdogs, Black Lips, and Michelle Branch. I also have to make mention of at least 2 other artists that are featured on this highly collaborative new album. First of all, we have Beck. Now, Beck is 53 years old, if you can believe that. This highly regarded artist has co-written several of the songs on this release, and he also contributes some vocals, guitar, and keyboards as well. And then we have Noel Gallagher. This 56-year-old Oasis legend has co-written 3 of the songs on Ohio Players, on which he contributes some background vocals as well. He also plays guitar on one of them. Now for some release notes. The album was released on April 5th of 2024, and it's the Black Keys' 12th full album release of studio material. It was released on Nonsuch Records and was co-produced by Dan and Patrick. A couple of songs had production help from Dan the Automator, and one had help from Greg Kirsten. The album was mixed by the great Mark Spike Stent. The mastering was done by Howie Weinberg and Will Borza. Now let's look at the track listing and some of the song lengths. There are 14 songs. Live Till I Die is the shortest song at 2 minutes and 23 seconds, and Paper Crown is the longest at 4:17. The total album length is just shy of 44 minutes. Now let's skip over to the album title and the cover. The album title is Ohio Players. First of all, this is a direct reference to the American funk/soul band of the same name that was very popular in the 1970s. You've no doubt heard some of their classic tunes like Love Roller Coaster and Fire. So you know right away that the Black Keys are telling you you're about to enter a musical time machine here. But Ohio Players is also an obvious reference to Dan and Patrick themselves, as they both hail from Ohio and are literally music players. But we're not done yet, since the word player is also U.S. slang for a guy that gets around with the ladies. The cover was done by photographer Jim Harrington. The Keys saw an old 1960s photo of a woman bowling, but couldn't find the owner of the photo in order to license it. Instead, they created it for the cover. The photo was actually shot at the Bryant Lake Bowl and Theater in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's mostly black and white and depicts a shot in an old bowling alley just after the woman in the photo has just completed her follow-through. The ball looks to be headed straight down the middle of the lane for an inevitable strike. The woman's hand is spread out on her butt, partially covering her retro polka dot pants. A man is holding a black and blue bowling ball, which appears to be a globe of the world, as he waits for his roll. The band's name is very prominently displayed in red and a retro-like font, and it's obvious that they want you to see this first, as the relatively tiny album name is part of the black and white photo, and it's harder to see just above the bowling pins in the back. However, note that the lanes themselves draw your eye compositionally to the title. Very clever. Just like the album title, the cover conveys a sense of nostalgia and traveling back a few decades. Overall, the cover is conceptually synchronized with the vibe of the music and suits the album really well. Now for some general album observations. First thing to note is that this is not your traditional audiophile recording. It's meant to be played loud in a car or at a party, and the sound is designed to really jump out of your speakers. And to that end, the levels here are hot, and the sound is very compressed. It's a sonically loud record with a lot of instrumentation frequently crammed in, so it's often difficult to pick out the individual edges on a lot of the instruments. With all that said, the sound fits the retro thing the Keys are known for and what they're going for once again on this album. Personally, I would have preferred more of the Danger Mouse production magic that they had on El Camino. I didn't necessarily get much ear fatigue listening to it, but I would have appreciated a little less on the throttle. Now let's dive into the individual songs. Song number 1 is called This Is Nowhere, and this was the third single released and is one of the tunes co-written with Beck, who also adds some background vocals. We start right off with a fuzz bass and some drums for a few seconds before Dan starts singing. Dan does hit his upper register occasionally, which is quite cool. There's a keyboard that plays this melodic descending line that is really the main theme of the tune. The emphasized drum snares will have you bopping your head along to this mid-tempo song. A Moog synth is used, and you can hear its kind of otherworldly sound going on in the mix. The cool background vocals are also a key component to this song. Let's look at the lyrics from the first pre-chorus. "'Cause anywhere's better than here. Wanna disappear in the atmosphere for a million years. No discount beers, no alligator tears. Just the sound of the wind blowing past my ears. My ears." This is a song about running away from everything, but not knowing exactly where you're going, but not really caring about the destination either. There's really not much else to read into these lyrics. No deep complexity here. For some reason, this song doesn't come off as a really strong album opener for me. I would have expected some of the other tunes to actually lead off this record. Regardless, and you'll find this true of most of the songs on Ohio Players, this song is extremely catchy and earwormy. It's impossible to get out of your head after a couple of listens. Song number 2 is Don't Let Me Go. We're going back to a sunny day in the 60s with this groovy tune. It's another collab with Beck. It's very short, like many tunes on this record, at about 2.5 minutes, and it sounds like a song that's been around for decades. Instantly familiar. This may be a little stretch, but it reminds me of the song A Dream Is All I Need to Get By Noel Gallagher. Although Don't Let Me Go is not one of Noel's songs on Ohio Players, maybe it was inspired by him. Let me know what you guys think. Anyway, there are 2 chords that sway back and forth during the melodic verses over a great laid-back, swinging drum beat. The pre-chorus has Dan singing in a wonderful falsetto with some strings in the background, but the chorus, man, what a chorus, simply exceptional. There's also some great little descending guitar lines during the outro. Let's look at the first verse. On a desert road with no way home, I was lost and alone now, baby. I was feeling adrift behind the window tint, and the pouring rain couldn't save me. This appears to be kind of a follow-up to the first song, as Dan is now on the road driving to nowhere but misses his significant other and wants to come back to her. It's a Missing My Baby song. Don't Let Go is the Black Keys at their very best. It's instantly memorable, highly melodic, and the groove is just killer. I love this song. Song number 3 is Beautiful People, Stay High. This was the first single, and it's another co-write with Beck. He also plays some keys on this one. This tune is another groover that starts with a straightforward drum beat and a slinky bass line. The sing-along chorus is the first thing that we hit as Dan sings with the background singers. There are also a lot of cool na-na-nas sung by everyone during the pre-choruses. Horns and piano are also out front and center. Let's look at the chorus lyrics. All of those beautiful people say hey. All of those beautiful people stay high. All of those beautiful people say yeah. I'm telling you why. As far as interpreting this song's lyrical content, I'd just say don't bother. The lyrics are just some bones to hang the music on, nothing more than that from what I can tell. You gotta know that this sing-along chorus, though, will be sung loudly by fans on the Keys' imminent world tour. This tune has a great bass line, a great groove, and pretty much everything is great, except that the chorus does come off as a tad redundant towards the end, even though the song is less than 3 minutes long. Still, it's a pretty fun tune. Song number 4 is On the Game. Now we really shift gears as we hit this song that was co-written with Noel Gallagher. However, my bet is that this is 90% written by Noel. It has all the hallmarks from the song title to the melodies and to the George Harrison guitar lines that Noel plays. The dancey vibe of the 3 previous songs is ditched for what is more of a laid-back tempo and an almost majestic sound. The circular guitar lines are fantastic, as are Dan's vocals. His vocal style here reminded me of John Lennon, circa the Double Fantasy album. Let me know if any of you guys hear this influence as well. The choruses are huge, as are the background vocals joining in with Dan. Let's look at the chorus lyrics. 'Cause everybody's on the game, to keep you howling at the rain. It's how we know we're all the same, the joy, the pain. Everybody's on the game. From what I can tell, this song is about how everyone is out there hustling just to make it by. Note that the phrase on the game can also be interpreted through one of its British meanings, which is performing well in a sports context, like, hey, that player is really on the game today. Noel, being a big soccer fan, this interpretation isn't much of a stretch. Anyway, this is maybe my favorite song on Ohio Players. It's extremely memorable, majestic, and just sounds huge in a good way. One of the best things that the Black Keys have ever done. Song number 5 is Only Love Matters. The tempo picks up on another song that was co-written with Noel. This one doesn't sound as Noel-y as On the Game, except the song title is very Noel Gallagher. We get a droney guitar sound and lots of hand claps. It's another busy song with a lot of instrumentation and background vocals singing woo-hoo-hoo lines. We also get a guitar solo during an instrumental break, but it's extremely short and spare. Let's look at the second verse. Dreamin' all alone, where no one gets to bother me. Open up my mind, let me see what I might see. Drive all night with my radio on, never have to change the song. Dreamin' all alone, where no one gets to bother me, where I'm free. Dan is driving somewhere again, and he's feeling free. It's ostensibly a love song, but overall the lyrics don't really go anywhere special. Just more words to hang the music on. There are some cool things about this song, like the woo-hoo-hoos and a typically great rhythm section, but this song is just okay for me. It's not a standout. Song number 6 is Candy and Her Friends. This one changes things up, primarily by incorporating some rapping at the end of the tune by rapper Lil Noid. The sound, especially at the start of the song, borrows some elements from hip-hop, like the spare drums, but also these chimes and synth sound that sound like signature production influences by Dr. Dre, like something off the Chronic. We get hand claps again that will keep your head bobbing as the hand claps transition from the rock part to the rap part. Dan's singing is great on the verses, and I swear that the chorus sounds like a Lana Del Rey song. Just don't ask me which one. Let's look at the lyrics from the chorus. Candy and her friends, rolling down 8th Avenue, red Mercedes-Benz, they got an attitude. Candy and her friends, always one-upping you. Here we go again, Candy and her friends. This song is about a lady named Candy that likes to get high and race her Benzo with her friends. Pretty simple, except the rap part doesn't seem to fit into the lyrical narrative. It's like two separate songs were just put together without thought to lyrical cohesion between them. Regardless of the lyrical mismatch, this is a pretty chill and groovy tune. I imagine it would work well on the dance floor after everyone does a puff puff pass. And I think the rap integration works surprisingly well. As an experiment, I think they pulled it off successfully, at least musically. Song number 7 is I Forgot to Be Your Lover. This was the second single and is the only cover song on the album. This one was originally co-written by Booker T. Jones and William Bell, and it was sung by Bell. Another short tune at under 2.5 minutes. Here Dan shows what a great bluesy soul singer he can actually be. These are easily his best vocals on the album. It's a slower soul tune with a great simple melody. The instrumentation seems to be not quite as condensed as other songs, and the strings really jump out. I'm not going to go over the lyrics, but will just say it's about a guy that apologizes to his love interest that he hasn't shown her enough attention and love. This song is a nice change of pace in the album sequencing and allows us to get a little breather from the intensity of the earlier tunes. It's also a fine showcase for Dan's vocals. Song number 8 is Please Me Till I'm Satisfied. This tune starts out with a great chugga-chugga rhythm on the drums that continues throughout this tune, which also has a blues-like progression. The bass is fuzzy again, and Dan's solid vocals are fairly processed and pulled back somewhat in the mix. It's a very thick and dense-sounding song. Dan plays some slide guitar that's just basically sliding quickly up the neck of the guitar to create some tension. The tune's got energy. Here are lyrics from the second verse. Some got love that creeps away in the night. Some take home a love they know ain't right. I got love that keeps my soul so true. You got the lovin' that I can't refuse. Lyrically, this is another simple love song as Dan professes his love to his lady friend, even though his friends have tried warning him off of her. Nothing deep going on here. This is a high-energy, fuzzy tune that sounds very familiar, but it doesn't have the strongest of melodies. It's a bit of a one-trick pony, but short enough to not necessarily overstay its welcome. Song number 9 is Youll Pay. This is the third song co-written with Noel. I got kind of a sped up Roxy Music loves the drug vibe from this bouncy tune. Dan is singing in his upper register throughout, and again, his voice is pretty processed. The vocals have a heavy and fast tremolo effect, and the driving percussion is thick with hand claps, tambourines, and shakers that are employed. Let's look at some of the lyrics from the last chorus. Open up your heart and let me in. I loved you from the start, my only friend. Oh Lord, I know that when you look my way, there's gonna be a price to pay. Another love song about what appears to be someone frightened about showing their love, knowing there will be some kind of price to pay. Not sure what that price is, but there you go. This is a solid groover of a tune, very retro sounding, and very danceable. Song number 10 is Paper Crown. We're back to another collaboration with Beck here, who actually does some of the lead singing. It's a bit of a duet, but also this is another hip-hop integration number with rapper Juicy J handling the rap duties. Like Candy and her friends, the rap section is the latter part of the song, another tune that sounds like two separate songs put together. We have some samples at the start of the song and this great bass line. The rap section again uses a high-pitched synth sound as a nod to Dr. Dre. I'm going to skip the lyrics on this one, but I encourage all of you to read through them online, especially that rap section. Although Juicy J does a great job, I do think some of the lyrics veer into tired and played out rap tropes. For example, there's a line that goes, "Go and bounce that ass, go and bounce that ass." Really, is that needed in 2024 on a Black Keys album? I'll let you decide for yourself, but for me, it seems kind of silly and forced. Other than that, the music and vibe of this tune is great. It's definitely one of the strongest on the album. Just don't pay too much attention to those rap lyrics. Song number 11 is Live Till I Die, another Beck co-write. This one starts out with a distorted guitar and melody sounding like Cinnamon Girl by Neil Young, and believe it or not, I was also reminded of Sheryl Crow's Soak Up the Sun during the choruses. We get a lot of background vocals on those choruses, and they sound great. This is the shortest song at 2 minutes and 23 seconds, so it comes in, does its thing, and gets out without overstaying its welcome. Here's the first verse. I want to talk to the silver sun, run through the jungle with a candy gun, write my name up on the clouds, smoke all day, never coming down. My interpretation is that this tune is just your basic I'm gonna get high song. It has some psychedelic imagery and all of that. Although it's knowingly derivative, I really enjoyed this track. However, it seems like they missed an opportunity to expand on the song a bit. I would have loved to have heard some jamming and some guitar solos on this one. Regardless, it's a good one and has a classic rock vibe with that nod to Neil. Song number 12 is Read 'em and Weep. Beck was involved again here, but only on some keyboards. He didn't co-write this one. We enter 60s surf music territory that will remind you of the song Bullwinkle Part 2 by the Centurions from the Pulp Fiction soundtrack. You know, those tremolo chords and fast-picked Dick Dale guitar lines. Very classic surf sound. The progression is blues-based, and Dan sings in the higher upper register again. The choruses are also joined in by the background singers. Here's the second verse. It's only right to wonder what sort of spell I'm under. Your cheating game is an art. You know it's true. You can't undo what's done in the dark. This is a revenge song about someone cheating on Dan. The possibility of forgiveness is non-existent, and he tells her you can't undo what was done in the dark. This track is definitely a time machine, and you'll get that Pulp Fiction feel when you listen to it. It's a fine track for what it tries to do, but it isn't one of the strongest for me. Song number 13 is Fever Tree, another Beck co-write. This is a super thick and dense cut. This one has more of a 70s feel to it. There's some very cool sounding guitar, almost John Frusciante type of arpeggios during the verses, and then everything in the kitchen sink is thrown in during these enormous choruses with a generous dose of na-na-nas. Dan's singing is drenched in reverb but sounds really good. The melodies are wonderful. Here are lyrics from the second verse. You got the hammer, you got the nails. I give you both my hands, leave me locked in jail. I'm just a prisoner, you say that I am free to spend the rest of my days beneath the fever tree. The lyrical content is some of the more inscrutable kind we find on Ohio Players. My take is that the singer's heart got broken and he's struggling with the aftermath. Fever tree, by the way, is a type of tree native to eastern and southern Africa. The bark is a component of a brew used to induce lucid dreams. This is one of the strongest tracks on this release. It's powerful, catchy, and it's just a massive song. The final song, song number 14, is called Every Time You Leave. This closing track is another co-write with Beck. Yeah, he's all over this record, if you haven't figured that out yet. Another super melodic and thick sounding track. We do get a bit of a breakdown during the bridge with some phaser used on the guitar. There is this really catchy guitar line that's integrated between what sounds like reverse cymbal crashes. It's a really cool effect. By the way, this is the track that Greg Kurstin is on. He helped produce this one and plays multiple instruments on it. Here are the lyrics from the bridge. Tried living without you, died thinking about you. Why wouldn't you want me to? One day I'll be crying, 2 days and I'm dying. Next day I'll be trying to look for you. Seems like Dan's love interest is continuously leaving him and it tears him apart. However, it does appear that she always comes back, eventually. As opposed to several other songs on Ohio Players, this tune actually has some pretty decent lyrics. This tune is really an upbeat and strong song to end an album on. It's strong melodically and rhythmically. Another great effort by these guys. So what do I think overall about this 12th full player from the boys from Ohio? I believe this is their most consistently melodic and fun album since El Camino back in 2011. But it isn't without its faults. As I mentioned earlier, I think the production is a tad overloaded with instruments, and the recording levels are super hot. A little less volume and more dynamics would make for an easier and better listening experience, in my opinion. Don't Let Me Go, On the Game, and Fever Tree are my favorites right now, with On the Game being one of the best songs I think I've heard this year. There's a good amount of variety and the sequencing is good, and the result is a satisfying full album listen, although I imagine most folks will treat it as a feeder to their playlists, selecting only their favorites. So who's this album for? I think Keys fans will dig it if they come to it not expecting El Camino 2. There are melodies and earworms here for days that should hook Keys fans and classic rock fans alike. This isn't for someone looking for deep lyrical revelations. It's primarily a light and fun summer party record that's meant to get you singing with it in just a few spins. Finally, I would have trimmed a few of the weaker cuts and extended the remaining ones with more jams and guitar solos, but I realize in this day and age, the kids don't have the patience to listen to anything over 3 minutes anymore. The cynic in me is also whispering that they intentionally crammed this album with short tunes in order to license them to corporate America. No doubt we'll be hearing a lot of commercials with snippets from Ohio Players. But regardless, this is still a winner. So I'm going to give this album a rating of 7.5 out of 10. Now, your mileage may vary as usual. Let me know what you guys think of this album. Do you hate it? Do you love it? Are you indifferent? Let me know down below in the comments and let me know why. All right, guys. Thanks for watching me. As usual, I really appreciate all the time, all the support, all the great comments I've received on this channel. I know you guys are watching out there. Share this video with like-minded people if you would. I'd really appreciate that. At a minimum, just give me a like, hit that subscribe, hit the notifications, and I'm going to catch you guys next time.